Before we dive in, you already know this story won't let you sleep tonight. So hit subscribe, like, and drop a comment, because once you enter the tunnels of Madrid, there's no coming back. The sirens sliced through the freezing Madrid dawn, bouncing off stone walls and glass storefronts as Inspector Lucas Ferrer sprinted across the Plaza Elliptica bus station, breath sharp in the cold air. The platform, normally buzzing with commuters, was empty, sealed off, and crawling with officers. Something had happened here. Something worse than the usual morning chaos. A body had been found. But not where bodies are usually found. Lucas slipped under the police tape and followed the deputy commander down a narrow service corridor. Fluorescent lights flickered above them like they were afraid to stay on. The smell hit first, cold metal, damp concrete, and something faintly chemical. Then he saw it. The maintenance hatch leading into Madrid's abandoned freight tunnels was wide open, bolts scattered like teeth. And lying half inside the darkness was a man in a suit, sprawled face down, his hand stretched toward the platform as if reaching for help he never got. His ID said he was Tomás Rivas, a mid-level logistics manager for a private infrastructure contractor. No criminal record. No known enemies. No reason to end up dead in a forgotten tunnel system built during the Franco era and sealed for decades. Lucas crouched down, scanning the area with a gloved hand. No signs of a struggle. No visible wounds. But what chilled him wasn't the body. It was the object placed neatly beside it. A thin metal subway token. Old. Obsolete. From a transit system decommissioned more than 40 years ago. Polished as if someone wanted it to gleam under the flickering lights. The same token that had shown up in 3 unresolved disappearances across the past 9 months. Lucas exhaled slowly. Not again, he whispered. The press had given the unknown perpetrator a name, El Fantasma del Subsuelo. The Underground Phantom. A ghost who stalked the buried veins of the city. But Lucas never believed in ghosts. Only people. And people always left a trail. By dawn, the station was sealed, and a forensic team was combing every inch of concrete. Lucas briefed his partner, Detective Valeria Soto, a sharp-eyed, sharp-tongued investigator who never backed down from the darkest parts of humanity. Same token placement. Same precision. Same lack of evidence, she murmured, turning the coin over under a flashlight. He's escalating. He's sending a message, Lucas said. He wants us down there. Valeria stared at the open hatch. Then we go. The descent into the tunnel was like stepping back in time. Rusted rail tracks cut through the darkness, graffiti layered over graffiti like forgotten voices. Their flashlights carved long shadows along the curved walls. The sound of dripping water echoed like footsteps. But it wasn't the emptiness that unsettled Lucas. It was the sense of order. Someone had been here recently. Someone who knew these tunnels intimately. The 2 detectives followed fresh shoe prints along the dust-caked ground, expensive shoes, narrow footprint, likely a man. The tracks ended abruptly near a junction where 3 tunnels split off like a branching artery. He knows how to vanish, Valeria said quietly. He doesn't vanish, Lucas murmured. He chooses where to be seen. They found the first real clue 2 hours later, a small surveillance camera mounted high on an ancient concrete pillar, wires freshly stripped, lens intact but dead. Why place a camera that isn't even connected? Valeria asked. Lucas frowned. Unless it was connected. Just not to the station. They logged it, photographed it, and marked the location. Then they kept walking. Half a kilometer deeper, the tunnel widened into an old underground cargo platform. Dust-covered crates were stacked neatly, as if someone had curated the place. Lucas's flashlight swept over them, and stopped. A symbol had been carved into one of the wooden panels. A circle. Clean, perfect. Inside it, 5 short lines radiating outward like a sun. Valeria exhaled. We saw this in the last disappearance file. Lucas nodded. The backpacker from Sweden, right? Carved on a wall near where his trail stopped. But this carving was different. Older. Confident. Like whoever made it wasn't rushed this time. They photographed the symbol, analyzing the grooves. Precision tool. Not improvised. Someone planned every detail. Something else caught Lucas's eye, a thin copper wire running along the floor, disappearing under a metal door sealed with a fresh padlock. Lucas knelt, brushing dust away. The wire buzzed faintly with residual energy. Someone rigged a live connection down here recently, he said. To what? To something we don't see yet. Lucas pulled out his lockpick set. Valeria raised an eyebrow. When did you become an expert at that? When Madrid's criminals stopped using normal doors. The lock clicked open. Valeria steadied her flashlight. Ready? He nodded and swung the heavy metal door forward. The room beyond wasn't a room at all. It was a long-forgotten signal control center, rows of dead monitors, rusting switches, peeling paint. But the dust on the floor told a different story. There were footprints everywhere. Dozens. Some old, some fresh. Someone had been using this place extensively. On the central desk sat something that made Lucas's heart sink. A tablet. Still warm. Still glowing faintly. He lifted it carefully. The screen displayed a frozen video feed, grainy security footage of the Plaza Elliptica maintenance corridor from just a few hours earlier. The same corridor where Tomas had been found. "This isn't a ghost," Valeria whispered. "This is surveillance. Organized. Well-funded." Lucas tapped the screen. It shifted to another feed. Then another. At least 7 different tunnels, all deep inside restricted transit zones. Someone had built their own private monitoring network beneath Madrid. "Who the hell has access to this?" Valeria muttered. Lucas didn't answer. Because he didn't know. But he felt the walls closing around them. Like they had stepped directly into the Phantom's domain. He scrolled to the final recorded feed. A man in a suit walking nervously through a tunnel. Tomas Rivas. Lucas felt the cold settle in his bones. Tomas wasn't dragged down here. He came willingly. Following someone. Trusting someone. The last frame froze. Tomas looked over his shoulder. Directly into the camera. His mouth shaped a single word, but the audio was dead. Still, Lucas read it clearly. "Help." Then the footage cut abruptly. Valeria swallowed hard. "Where's the rest? Where is the moment he?" But Lucas didn't hear her. His eyes had locked onto the top corner of the screen, the timestamp. The missing portion of the footage wasn't deleted. It was moved. Scheduled. To automatically upload to a cloud drive. At midnight. Exactly 12 hours from now. But the file name was the real punch in the gut. Inspector Lucas Ferrer, Chapter 1. Lucas froze. His heartbeat thudding loud in the silence. Valeria whispered, "Lucas, why is your name on that?" He stared at the screen. Because the Phantom wasn't just taunting the police anymore. He was targeting him. And then Lucas noticed the final line beneath the file name, one that turned his blood to ice. "If you open the server room inside the next tunnel, you'll finally understand." Lucas turned slowly toward the dark doorway leading deeper underground. Because the Phantom wasn't just taunting the police anymore. He was targeting him. And then Lucas noticed the final line beneath the file name, one that turned his blood to ice. "If you open the server room inside the next tunnel, you'll finally understand." Lucas turned slowly toward the dark doorway leading deeper underground. Because the Phantom hadn't left them a choice. He had left them an invitation. Lucas stared into the dark corridor that stretched beyond the control room, the stale air drifting out like a warning. The message on the tablet burned in his mind, "If you open the server room inside the next tunnel, you'll finally understand." Valeria tightened her grip on her flashlight. "This is a trap. You know that, right?" "Every crime scene is a trap," Lucas murmured. "Some are just more honest about it." They stepped forward, leaving the glow of the old monitors behind. The tunnel ahead curved downward, the concrete walls narrowing as if the city was slowly swallowing them whole. Water dripped rhythmically from overhead pipes, echoing like a countdown. The smell of ozone thickened. Electricity. Equipment running where nothing should be running. Valeria brushed her fingers along the tunnel wall. Someone rebuilt half this system without the city knowing. "Not someone," Lucas said quietly. "An operation." She nodded. "Which means Tomas Rivas wasn't just a victim. He was part of something. And he tried to get out," Lucas added. "That's why he came down here alone." They reached a heavy reinforced door, newer than the rest of the aging infrastructure. Fresh bolts. Fresh hinge grease. And unlike the other rooms, this door had a digital lock. Red light blinking. Valeria raised an eyebrow. "You know how to pick digital locks too?" Lucas exhaled. "Unfortunately, yes." He pulled a compact decryptor from his kit, attached it to the keypad, and began cycling codes. Every number that flashed across the screen made Valeria's nerves twitch tighter. "Someone with money built all this," she whispered. "Someone who knows the tunnels, the surveillance blind spots, the maintenance schedules. Someone who needs secrecy more than oxygen. And someone who knows my name," Lucas added. The lock clicked green. The door swung open. And the world inside was wrong. Racks of servers filled the room, humming with low, icy tones. The space was cold, unnaturally cold, as if designed to keep heat signatures invisible to thermal imaging. Blue LEDs blinked like distant stars. Cables crawled across the floor like roots of some underground machine. Valeria stepped forward slowly. This is a full intelligence infrastructure." Lucas scanned the room, feeling the hairs on his neck rise. "And none of it is city-owned." Monitors lined the far wall, live feeds of subway platforms, maintenance shafts, street-level CCTV, even corporate building interiors. Whoever built this had tapped into public and private systems across Madrid. Untraceable. Undetected. But one monitor froze Lucas in place. It showed him a live camera feed. Inside this very tunnel. A few seconds delayed. Valeria moved beside him. He's watching us. Lucas forced himself to breathe. He knew we'd come here. He wanted us to see this. Valeria turned slowly, scanning the ceiling. Where's the camera? I don't see it. You won't, Lucas said. He's using microlenses. Probably disguised in the cabling. Valeria swallowed. Then we need to find the core file. Whatever he left for us. At the center of the server rack, a single workstation glowed with a login prompt. No username required. Just one command. Enter your badge ID, Inspector Ferrer. Valeria stiffened. Don't you dare. If he already has full access to our systems, Lucas said, he doesn't need my badge. This is theater. Or a detonator. Lucas placed his badge on the scanner. The screen flickered. Lines of encrypted files scrolled rapidly. Then a folder opened automatically. Subject, Operation Night Vault. Status, compromised. Valeria frowned. What the hell is Night Vault? Lucas opened the first file. A video began to play. A dimly lit conference room. 6 people sitting around a table. Faces blurred. Voices distorted. A man spoke. Security breaches continue. Move Phase 3 underground. No more delays. Another voice answered. We've contained Ferrer's investigation. He suspects street-level trafficking, nothing more. Valeria froze. What? What investigation? Lucas's stomach dropped. He recognized the audio distortions. He had heard this kind of encrypted manipulation during a corruption case 3 years ago, one he thought he had closed. One that had nearly ended his career. Lucas, Valeria whispered, what aren't you telling me? Lucas didn't answer immediately. His eyes were glued to the final part of the video. A silhouette at the end of the table leaned forward. No blur. No distortion. No attempt to hide. Tomás Rivas. You all know Ferrer won't stop, Tomás said. He's too close. If he uncovers the ghost routes, the whole network collapses. Valeria turned to Lucas. Ghost routes? Lucas whispered, the smuggling corridors beneath Madrid, abandoned lines used during the dictatorship, then repurposed decades later by criminal logistics rings. I tried tracking them down. I failed. Valeria blinked. So Tomás wasn't a victim. He was part of it. The video cut to black. A new prompt appeared on the screen. Would you like to see the rest, Inspector? Y/N. Lucas hesitated. His hands trembled. But he pressed Y. A second video loaded. This one shook him worse than the first. A hidden camera angle. Tomás pacing nervously inside the same control room where Lucas and Valeria now stood. He spoke to someone off-screen. You promised protection. You said Ferrer wouldn't be dragged into this. A distorted voice replied. He dragged himself in. He always does. Tomás stepped closer to the lens, fear raw in his eyes. Then I'm done. I'm giving him everything. The Phantom, the tunnels, the routes, everything. I won't be part of this anymore. The unseen voice sighed. You were never part of it. You were insurance. A pause. Then the voice added. And you've just expired. The video ended. Valeria exhaled shakily. So someone killed him because he tried to expose the network? Lucas shook his head slowly. No. Tomás wasn't killed here. He walked himself to the place he died. Meaning, Valeria finished the sentence for him. Someone staged his death. Lucas turned to the server racks, mind racing. Someone who wants us to think he died here. A sharp noise cracked through the tunnel, metal hitting concrete. Lucas and Valeria spun toward the doorway. Footsteps. Slow. Deliberate. Echoing off the tunnel walls. Someone was approaching. Valeria whispered, Lucas, weapons ready. Lucas drew his firearm, breath steady, eyes locked on the dark corridor. The footsteps stopped just outside the server room. Silence. Thick enough to smother the air. Then a voice. Calm. Confident. Mocking. Inspector Ferrer. Lucas froze. He knew that voice. He hadn't heard it in years. A man stepped into the faint blue light. Tall. Clean-cut. Wearing a tailored coat far too elegant for the tunnels. Valeria gasped. You're supposed to be dead. Lucas whispered the name that curdled the entire investigation. Mateo Calderon. Ormer Police Intelligence. Lucas's old mentor. Declared missing 8 years ago in a corruption probe. And now standing in front of them like a ghost with a pulse. Mateo smiled slightly. Welcome to the heart of Madrid, Lucas. You weren't supposed to find this place yet. Lucas stepped forward, gun steady. Are you the Phantom? Mateo chuckled. No. I built the Phantom. He pointed calmly toward the deeper tunnels. And now, it's time you meet the real one. Lucas kept his gun raised, though his mind was spiraling. Mateo Calderon, the man whose disappearance had tormented him for nearly a decade, now stood inches from the blue glow of the underground servers, alive, steady, and disturbingly calm. Valeria scanned the shadows behind him. You said he was dead, Lucas. You told Internal Affairs. I believed it, Lucas whispered. Mateo vanished in the middle of the corruption probe. They found blood. They found his badge. They found nothing else. Mateo smiled faintly. Because that's exactly what they were meant to find. Valeria's voice sharpened. Why reappear now? Why stalk the tunnels? Why murder Tomas? Murder? Mateo tilted his head. You still think he's dead? Lucas and Valeria froze. Mateo stepped aside, revealing the dark mouth of the corridor behind him. The Phantom doesn't leave bodies without purpose. Tomas played his role. Now it's your turn. Lucas tightened his grip. You're coming with us. Hands behind your back, now. Mateo chuckled softly, unfazed by the weapon pointed at him. Lucas, I didn't come to surrender. I came to show you the truth. He lifted a small remote from his coat. Valeria tensed. Drop it. Mateo pressed a button. The tunnel lights flickered, once, twice, and then flared to life in a long, blinding line stretching into the darkness. For the first time, Lucas and Valeria could see what lay beyond. A massive steel vault door. Embedded deep under Madrid. Industrial. Reinforced. Carved with the same circular symbol they'd found earlier. 5 radiating lines. The sun. The mark of the network. Mateo gestured toward it. Operation Night Vault. The heart of everything you've chased for years. Your ghosts. Your dead ends. Your missing witnesses. It all starts here. Lucas felt his pulse hammer. Open it. Mateo smiled. I thought you'd never ask. He approached the vault, placed his hand on a biometric pad, and a deep metallic groan vibrated through the earth as the door unlocked. Cold air rushed out, carrying the sterile scent of machines and chemicals. The vault light flickered on. Lucas's breath stopped. Inside were rows of workstations, crates, confidential documents, encryption devices, communications gear, an entire covert intelligence hub hidden beneath the city. But it wasn't the equipment that petrified him. It was the wall on the left. Covered with photos. Dozens of them. Faces. Victims. Suspects. Detectives. Judges. Politicians. And at the center, a large photo of Lucas Ferrer. Valeria whispered, What is this? Mateo spoke softly, as if explaining something inevitable. This is Madrid's real shadow. The network beneath the network. For decades, our leaders built a silent infrastructure, routes, tunnels, blind corridors, intended for emergencies, evacuations, covert operations. But corruption seeped in. Criminal groups took pieces. Officials looked away. Eventually, the system became a marketplace. He walked past the photos, trailing a finger along the wall. A marketplace for smuggling. For intelligence leaks. For disappearances. For secrets no one wanted seen. Lucas lowered his gun, shaken. And you ran it? No, Mateo replied. I tried to dismantle it. And someone tried to dismantle me. Valeria stepped closer. So you faked your death? Mateo nodded. I went underground, literally. These tunnels became my shield. And eventually, my battlefield. Lucas clenched his jaw. Then who is the Phantom? If not you? Mateo's eyes drifted to a corner of the vault, where a second door, smaller, heavily reinforced, waited behind thick wires and an old mechanical lock. He pointed. You'll see. Lucas's instinct screamed. What's behind that door? Mateo took a slow breath. The part you haven't understood yet. The part Tomas tried to show you. Lucas and Valeria exchanged a look. Then they moved. Together, they approached the inner door. Valeria inspected the lock. Manual. Old. Same era as the abandoned tunnels. Lucas turned. Mateo. Open it. Mateo hesitated, and for the first time, fear flickered across his face. He stepped toward the door, entered a sequence on a rusted keypad, and pulled the heavy handle. The door screeched open. Lucas lifted his flashlight. And froze. Inside the small chamber sat a man. Alive. Bound to a chair. Breathing shallowly. Eyes half-lidded. Face bruised. Clothes torn. Tomas Rivas. Valeria gasped. He's alive? Lucas rushed forward, kneeling beside him. Tomas. Tomas, can you hear me? Tomas's eyes fluttered. His lips trembled. Inspector? Ferrer. Mateo spoke from the doorway. He wasn't supposed to die. They were going to dispose of him after he delivered the files. But he ran. Lucas shot to his feet. Who? Who's behind the network now? Who's the Phantom? Matteo opened his mouth, but footsteps echoed in the vault behind them. Heavy. Unhurried. Confident. Valeria spun, weapon raised. Someone else is here. Lucas stepped back into the main vault room. A figure stood in the doorway. Tall. Broad-shouldered. Wearing a city maintenance uniform. But the face, cold, expressionless, was unmistakable. The man they had seen on the surveillance stills. The ghost in every blind spot. The silhouette in tunnel footage. The one always inches out of focus. The Phantom. He spoke in a low, unbroken voice. You've gone too far, Inspector. Lucas aimed his gun. Don't move. The Phantom didn't flinch. You were never meant to find the vault. And Tomas was never meant to live long enough to talk. Lucas steadied his breath. Who are you working for? The Phantom smiled faintly. Madrid. Valeria frowned. What does that mean? It means, the Phantom said, stepping forward, that the city protects itself. And some secrets must stay underground. He reached into his coat. Lucas fired. Valeria fired. 2 shots cracked through the vault. But the Phantom was already diving behind the server racks, moving faster than either of them expected. A flash of sparks exploded from the cables. The servers hissed, screens flickering violently. Alarms blared. Dust rained from the ceiling. Lucas shouted, he's crashing the system. Matteo yelled, if the servers overload, the vault collapses. The Phantom sprinted toward the exit tunnel. Lucas didn't hesitate. Valeria, get Tomas out. Matteo, shut down the overload. He chased the Phantom into the darkness. The tunnel roared with the hum of overloading circuits and the deep groans of shifting concrete. Lucas ran, breath burning in his chest, gun ready, eyes locked on the shadow ahead. Until he turned a corner and skidded to a stop. The Phantom stood on the edge of a maintenance shaft, vertical, bottomless, cold air rising like a warning. He looked over his shoulder. Madrid needed a keeper, Inspector. Someone who understood the cost of silence. Lucas raised his gun. It's over. The Phantom gave a soft, chilling laugh. Nothing ends down here. He stepped backward. And vanished into the darkness. Lucas rushed forward, kneeling beside him. Tomas. Tomas, can you hear me? Tomas's eyes fluttered. His lips trembled. Inspector? Ferrer. Matteo spoke from the doorway. He wasn't supposed to die. They were going to dispose of him after he delivered the files. But he ran. Lucas shot to his feet. Who? Who's behind the network now? Who's the Phantom? Matteo opened his mouth, but footsteps echoed in the vault behind them. Heavy. Unhurried. Confident. Valeria spun, weapon raised. Someone else is here. Lucas stepped back into the main vault room. A figure stood in the doorway. Tall. Broad-shouldered. Wearing a city maintenance uniform. But the face, cold, expressionless, was unmistakable. The man they had seen on the surveillance stills. The ghost in every blind spot. The silhouette in tunnel footage. The one always inches out of focus. The Phantom. He spoke in a low, unbroken voice. You've gone too far, Inspector. Lucas aimed his gun. Don't move. The Phantom didn't flinch. You were never meant to find the vault. And Tomas was never meant to live long enough to talk. Lucas steadied his breath. Who are you working for? The Phantom smiled faintly. Madrid. Valeria frowned. What does that mean? It means, the Phantom said, stepping forward, that the city protects itself. And some secrets must stay underground. He reached into his coat. Lucas fired. Valeria fired. 2 shots cracked through the vault. But the Phantom was already diving behind the server racks, moving faster than either of them expected. A flash of sparks exploded from the cables. The servers hissed, screens flickering violently. Alarms blared. Dust rained from the ceiling. Lucas shouted, he's crashing the system. Matteo yelled, if the servers overload, the vault collapses. The Phantom sprinted toward the exit tunnel. Lucas didn't hesitate. Valeria, get Tomas out. Matteo, shut down the overload. He chased the Phantom into the darkness. The tunnel roared with the hum of overloading circuits and the deep groans of shifting concrete. Lucas ran, breath burning in his chest, gun ready, eyes locked on the shadow ahead. Until he turned a corner and skidded to a stop. The Phantom stood on the edge of a maintenance shaft, vertical, bottomless, cold air rising like a warning. He looked over his shoulder. Madrid needed a keeper, Inspector. Someone who understood the cost of silence. Lucas raised his gun. It's over. The Phantom gave a soft, chilling laugh. Nothing ends down here. He stepped backward. And vanished into the darkness. Lucas lunged forward, but it was too late. The echo of the fall disappeared into the depths, swallowed by the earth. The tunnel shook again, harder. Mateo's voice shouted from the distance, "Lucas! The vault is going to fail." Lucas turned and ran. When he reached the vault, Valeria was dragging Tomas toward the exit. Mateo was typing frantically, trying to shut down the meltdown. Sparks burst from a server rack. Flames licked the cables. "Mateo! Let's go!" Lucas shouted. Mateo hesitated, then abandoned the terminal and sprinted with them. The three raced through the tunnels as a thunderous collapse tore through the chamber behind them. Dust chased their heels. Lights exploded above them. The earth groaned like it was finally exhaling decades of buried secrets. They burst through a maintenance hatch, and daylight slammed into their eyes. Officers swarmed the scene, weapons raised. A medic grabbed Tomas. Valeria collapsed onto the pavement, coughing. Lucas staggered to his feet, staring at the hole behind them as dust billowed upward. The vault. The servers. The evidence. The Phantom. All buried again. Valeria caught her breath. The Phantom, he's dead? Lucas looked at the dark opening. "No," he said quietly. "He survived Madrid's tunnels for years. A fall won't stop him." Mateo stepped beside him. "The truth is deeper than you think, Lucas. The Phantom is just one piece of a network that won't die easily." Lucas stared at the horizon, the weight of the investigation settling like concrete on his shoulders. Somewhere beneath the city? In a maze of forgotten tunnels? A ghost was still breathing. The case wasn't over. It had only gone silent. For now. If you think this story was intense, you're not ready for what comes next. Hit subscribe so you don't miss the next case.